Pepetual was the kind of woman who could make heads turn in any room. She is tall, light-toned skin, curvy, and a strikingly beautiful face. She exuded confidence. Her alluring charm was her currency, and the nightlife was her playground. Known to frequent the trendiest clubs in Lekki, Lagos 3 times a week, Pepetual loved to dance, draw the attention of men, and often left with one for the night. It was a lifestyle she embraced with gusto, and it paid her well. One fateful night at a high-end club, Pepetual met Prey, a tall, rich man with an effortless swagger and a penchant for the finer things in life. As they danced under the neon lights. By the end of the night, Prey invited her to his luxurious mansion. Prey's home was a palace of modern luxury and opulence. "Welcome to my world," Prey said with a charming smile, pouring her a glass of champagne from a chilled bottle. Pepetual couldn't hide her awe as she looked around. Soon, the night took a more intimate turn. Prey led Pepetual to his lavish master bedroom, where silk sheets and dimmed lighting set the mood. By morning, Prey handed her a thick envelope filled with cash. "Thank you for an unforgettable night," he said, kissing her hand. Pepetual returned home, her heart racing with excitement. She couldn't wait to tell her best friend, Zay. "Zay, girl, you won't believe the kind of night I had," Pepetual exclaimed, throwing the envelope of money on the bed. "Prey's house is like something out of a movie, and he's so generous." Zay's eyes widened as she picked up the cash. "This man gave you all this for just one night? Pep, you're living the dream." "I know, right? He's handsome, rich, and such a gentleman," Pepetual gushed. "I could get used to this." "Just be careful, babe," Zay warned. "These rich guys don't always stick around." Pepetual shrugged, her confidence unshaken. She continued her nightlife escapades, charming men and living her best life. But everything changed one night when she met Zikora. Zikora was a tall, dark-skinned man with broad shoulders, a well-trimmed beard, and a sharp sense of style. A high-earning oil and gas executive, he exuded power and confidence. Dressed in designer clothing, he walked into the club like he owned the place. His eyes locked on Pepetual, and he approached her with an air of authority. "I'm Zikora," he said with a charming smile. "And you must be the queen everyone here is talking about." "Pepetual," she replied, intrigued. "What brings you here?" "Maybe fate," he said, taking her hand. "Or maybe I just couldn't resist dancing with the most beautiful woman in the room." The night ended with Zikora taking Pepetual to his luxurious mansion in Lagos' high-end district. Zikora's home was a stunning showcase of wealth and sophistication. As they sat on the terrace overlooking the pool, Zikora poured them both glasses of vintage red wine. They shared stories, laughed, and felt a deep connection that neither had expected. When they moved to the bedroom, their passion ignited. The room was a sanctuary of luxury, with silk drapes, dimmed lights, and a king-sized bed. They explored each other with unrestrained desire, every moment filled with mutual pleasure. Pepetual had never felt so seen or desired. They stayed up late into the night, sharing more wine and conversations about their lives, dreams, and fears. For the first time, Pepetual felt something beyond her usual experiences, a sense of connection she couldn't quite define. By morning, Zikora handed her an envelope with money but held her gaze. "I want to see you again, Pepetual. I don't just want this to be one night." Pepetual left his home feeling a mixture of excitement and curiosity. She knew Zikora wasn't like the others. The blossoming romance between Pepetual and Zikora continued to grow, and with it, Zikora's penchant for showering her with luxury. One memorable vacation was their trip to Paris. Zikora surprised Pepetual with first-class tickets, a chauffeur waiting at the airport, and a stay at a 5-star hotel overlooking the Eiffel Tower. The city of love became their playground. They toured famous landmarks, indulged in fine dining at Michelin-starred restaurants, and went on shopping sprees in the luxury boutiques of Champs-Élysées. Back home, Zikora's grand gestures didn't stop. He often sent Pepetual surprise gifts through dispatch drivers, designer handbags, shoes, and perfumes. On one occasion, she found an envelope filled with cash and a note that read, "Just because you're my queen." Pepetual couldn't wait to tell her best friend, Zay, about her life. Over glasses of wine, she gushed, "Zay, I feel like I'm living a dream. Zikora treats me like royalty. Paris, designer gifts, everything I could ever want." Zoe's eyes sparkled as she listened. "Pep, you are so lucky. You found someone who adores you. I pray my own Prince Charming comes along soon." Pepetual reached out and squeezed her friend's hand. "He will, Zoe. I just know it. And when he does, I'll be here cheering you on." Their laughter and shared hopes made the moment even more special. Pepetual's heart was full of gratitude. Life with Zikora seemed perfect, and she believed nothing could ever break the magic they shared. After a year of dating, Zikora proposed during a romantic vacation in Dubai. As they stood atop the Burj Khalifa, Zikora got down on one knee, presenting a dazzling diamond ring. "Pepetual, you've changed my life. Will you marry me?" Through tears of joy, Pepetual said yes. Pepetual's wedding to Zikora was the kind of event people talked about for weeks. It was the grandest celebration Lagos had seen that season. From the moment the invitations were sent out, it was clear that this wedding would be a showstopper. Everyone who mattered in the city's social circle was invited, from oil tycoons to celebrities, politicians, and business moguls. The venue. A 5-star hotel with crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, floral arrangements so lush they smelled like a fresh garden, and lights that bathed the hall in a soft, golden glow. Pepetual looked like a goddess on her wedding day. Her skin seemed to glow even brighter against the white lace of her custom-made wedding gown. The dress was an elegant mix of traditional style and modern class, fitted to her curvy figure with delicate hand-sewn pearls and a long, flowing train that required 2 flower girls to carry. Her hair was styled in loose, romantic waves that framed her face perfectly, and her makeup was soft but flawless, highlighting her natural beauty. After the wedding, they jetted off for their honeymoon in the Maldives. Pictures of them lounging on private beaches, dining by the sea, and cruising on luxury yachts filled Pepetual's social media page. Everyone envied her. She posted pictures of herself in swimsuits, her skin glowing in the tropical sun, and of Zikora staring at her like she was the only woman in the world. It was the dream life, one many of her friends could only wish for. Zikora often surprised her with gifts, a new diamond bracelet, designer handbags, and perfumes that smelled like luxury itself. When they returned to Lagos, they moved into his grand mansion, a palace of glass and marble. The house had everything you could think of: a swimming pool, a home cinema, a gym, and even a personal chef. Pepetual felt like she was living a fairy tale. The first few months of their marriage were like a dream come true. Zikora was sweet, attentive, and always made her feel special. He showered her with gifts, new clothes, designer shoes, and jewelry. Every Friday, he took her out to dinner at the fanciest restaurants. People on social media tagged them as a couple goals whenever they posted pictures of their outings. In public, Zikora never missed a chance to hold her hand or kiss her cheek. Pepetual couldn't have been happier. She had gone from late nights in clubs to waking up in silk sheets next to a man who adored her. She looked like the perfect wife, always dressed in luxury, her skin glowing, her smile wide. Her friends teased her about winning the jackpot, and she would just laugh and say, "God did it." For the first 8 months, everything was perfect. One Friday afternoon, Pepetual had just returned home from a shopping spree at one of Lagos' most exclusive designer stores. As she walked in, the house was unusually quiet. Normally, Zikora would be waiting for her with a playful comment about how she had bought the whole store again. But today, something felt different. The faint sound of voices echoed from the lounge. She slowed her pace as she recognized Zikora's deep, commanding voice. It was sharp but measured, his business tone. But there was another voice. "No, it can't be," she thought, her brows furrowing as she moved closer to the lounge entrance. Peeking in through the side of the doorframe, her breath caught in her chest. There he was. Prey. The same prey from the club. The man she had spent one wild, reckless night with back in her free-spirited days. The man she had never expected to see again. He looked just as she remembered, tall, dark, and handsome, his eyes sharp and filled with mischief. He was laughing loudly, leaning back on one of Zikora's expensive Italian leather chairs, holding a glass of whiskey like he owned the place. Her heart began to race. What is he doing here? She wondered. Panic surged through her, but she stayed still, hoping to remain unnoticed. "Oh, Zikora, I'm telling you, Lagos is small." "Oh," Prey said with a grin, his eyes scanning the lavish lounge. "But this your house? Omo, you dey live large oh. Big man moves." He took a sip of his whiskey and shook his head, impressed by the luxury around him. "Man must live well," Zikora replied with a small laugh. His tone was relaxed, but it carried the confidence of a man who was used to being in control. "But this deal you're talking about, I need the numbers to add up. I don't do business with guesswork." Prey chuckled. "Zikora, you too dey strict, abeg. Business is risk, my guy. No risk, no reward. But I hear you. I'll send you the figures before Monday." Perpetual's chest tightened. She could feel sweat forming on her palms. "He doesn't recognize me," she thought, shifting slightly to hide herself behind the door. Her breathing was shallow, her mind racing. Her eyes darted towards Zikora, praying he wouldn't notice her. But she was wrong. "Pepetual." Zikora's sharp voice called out suddenly. Her heart dropped. Her feet felt glued to the ground, but she forced herself to step forward. She plastered a smile on her face, trying to appear calm. "Hey, baby," she said softly, walking toward them, her eyes only on Zikora. She could feel Prey's eyes shift to her, scanning her face, recognizing her. Her pulse quickened. "Please don't say anything, please don't say anything," she silently begged. Zikora's eyes were fixed on her, sharp and observing. "Pepetual, meet Prey," Zikora said, his eyes narrowing slightly. "We're working on a deal together." His gaze lingered on her longer than usual, searching her face as if he could read her thoughts. Prey's grin widened like a man who had just discovered a secret. Oh, small world," Prey exclaimed, pointing at her with a hand holding his glass. I know this babe now. We don't see before. Pepetual's stomach churned. Her eyes darted to Zechariah. His expression hardened instantly. His jaw tightened, his nostrils flared, and she knew. He knows. Have you guys met before? Zechariah asked slowly, his voice dangerously calm. His eyes stayed on Pepetual, waiting for her to speak. Her throat felt dry, but she forced herself to smile. No, I don't think so, she said quickly, brushing it off with a laugh. I have one of those faces, I guess. She turned to pray, her eyes pleading with him to stay quiet. Maybe you're confusing me with someone else. Prey tilted his head, his grin sly. Maybe. But I dey sure I know this face. He chuckled and leaned back in the chair. Oh, well, Lagos is small sure. Zechariah didn't say a word. He just stared at her. His eyes were cold. She felt it. He doesn't believe me. That night, everything changed. Zechariah didn't say much after Prey left. He was quiet, too quiet. Pepetual sat on the edge of their large bed, fidgeting with her fingers as she watched him undress. His movements were sharp and stiff, his jaw clenched so tight she could see the muscle flexing. Zechariah, she started, her voice soft, you know I love you, right? He didn't respond. He pulled off his shirt, tossed it aside, and walked into the bathroom without a glance in her direction. When he came out, he finally spoke. So, are you going to tell me? You and Prey? Her heart stopped. Prey, she asked, feigning confusion. Don't play dumb, Pepetual, he snapped, his voice cold like ice. His eyes, once full of love, now burned with something else, disgust. You and Prey? When? How? Tears welled up in her eyes. It was before I met you, Zechariah, she said, her voice cracking. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. He laughed bitterly. A mistake, cool. So you think you can just bury your past and it won't follow you, eh? He pointed a finger at her. I knew you weren't clean, Pepetual. But I took you as you were. I gave you a better life, but Prey. Zechariah, please, she begged, tears streaming down her face. You knew everything about my past. You knew. And you still married me. Yeah, I knew, he said, his voice eerily calm. But knowing it and seeing one of them today in my house, in my face are different things. Every time I look at you now, I see it. I see them. His face twisted in disgust. All those men you've been with. Do you even know who you are, Pepetual? You think wearing all these fancy clothes I bought for you makes you a queen? You're still nothing. She gasped like he had slapped her. His words cut deeper than any knife could. From that day on, Zechariah was no longer the man she married. He was cold, distant, and cruel. He mocked her at every chance. Look at you, he sneered one night. You wear all these designer dresses, but if I pull it off you now, who are you? Nothing. Nobody. Their once passionate nights of love became forced, brutal. He took what he wanted from her without care for her feelings. Her cries, her pleas for him to stop, were ignored. In public, they pretended to be the perfect couple. Zechariah would hold her hand, kiss her cheek, and smile like everything was fine. But at home, he was a different man, colder than ice, sharper than broken glass. Their once happy home had become a prison. Pepetual sat alone in her designer clothes, clutching her hands as tears soaked her cheeks. She felt trapped. No money, no help, and no love. And every time she thought it couldn't get worse, she would hear his voice behind her. "Don't forget where I found you, Pepetual," he would say, his voice filled with venom. "Don't you ever forget." And she never did. 2 months had passed since Pre's visit. The air in the house had grown colder, thicker with unspoken words and tension that seemed to seep into the walls. Pepetual tried to act normal, pretending that everything was fine whenever they were in public. But behind closed doors, it was a different story. Her once vibrant smile had faded. Her eyes, once so full of life, were now hollow. Her heart, which had known love and excitement, now knew only fear and doubt. Zikora's words echoed in her head daily, "Don't forget where I found you, Pepetual." Pepetual begged and begged Zikora to forgive her, but he walks out on her every time she begs him. Then one morning, Pepetual woke up feeling unusually nauseous. She went to the pharmacy that afternoon, bought a pregnancy test, and rushed back home, had the test done, and few minutes later, 2 bold red lines stared back at her. Her hands flew to her mouth. Tears streamed down her face, a mixture of fear, hope, and confusion. Maybe this will change everything. Maybe Zikora will see me differently now. Maybe this baby will soften him. She told herself that this child would bring them back together. Their love would be reborn. That evening, Pepetual decided to tell him. She waited until he was seated on the couch, scrolling on his phone. Her heart pounded in her chest. "Zikora," she said softly, standing in front of him, her fingers nervously twisting together. "What is it?" he replied, not looking up. I have news," she said, her voice breaking slightly. Trying to sound excited. "We are going to have a baby." Zikora slowly looked up from his phone, his eyes narrowing like she had just told him she committed a crime. He didn't smile. He didn't say a word. "A baby," he finally said, his tone sharp. "Yes," Pepetual nodded quickly, taking a step closer to him. "I found out today. Isn't it wonderful? We are going to be parents, Zikora." Her voice was filled with hope, eyes shining with the light of possibility. But his face didn't change. His eyes stayed locked on her, piercing her like daggers. Then, his lips curled into a smirk, not a happy one, but one filled with bitterness. "Are you sure it's mine?" he asked, his words cutting through her like a blade. Pepetual froze. Her smile faded instantly. "What?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You heard me," Zikora said, leaning forward on his knees. "Are you sure it's my child, or is it for one of those musicians you like to follow around at those parties?" His voice was laced with venom. Her eyes widened in shock. "Zikora, how can you say that?" she cried, placing her hand on her chest. "This is your baby. I haven't been with anyone but you since we got married." Zikora chuckled bitterly and stood up. "Oh, please. The same way you claimed you'd never met Pre, right?" He laughed darkly. "I know women like you, Pepetual. You can pretend all you want, but I see you for what you are. Your past is written all over you." Her heart shattered. She dropped to the couch, burying her face in her hands as tears flowed uncontrollably. "How did we get here?" she wondered. "How did the man who once loved me so deeply turn into this?" Zikora didn't attend a single antenatal appointment with her. He never asked how she was feeling. He didn't check in on her. When her legs swelled, he told her to stop sitting around all day. When she asked for her mother to come and help her for a few weeks, he refused. "This is my house, Pepetual. Your mother has no business here," he barked. "What do you need her for?" You have 2 hands. Use them. As her belly grew, so did her loneliness. Her once luxurious life now felt like a prison. Her love had become her punishment. On the day of the birth, she was rushed to the hospital alone. Zipporah didn't come until hours later, and even then, he didn't stay long. But when he saw the baby boy, his jaw tightened. The baby had Zipporah's face. The same nose, the same ears, the same eyes. Anyone could see it. But that didn't change Zipporah's attitude. "Don't think this changes anything," he muttered before walking out of the hospital room. Pepetual lay in bed, exhausted but holding her baby boy close. She looked at him, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Muna," she whispered. "I'll name you Muna. Because you be my peace." Her heart swelled with love for her son, even as the darkness of her reality loomed over her. One day, Zoe came to visit. Zoe had always been the bubbly, carefree friend. But this time, she noticed something was off. "Babe, you don't lose weight," Zoe said, her face full of concern. "What's going on?" Pepetual tried to laugh it off. "Oh, it's motherhood. You know how it is." "Pepetual, I beg, stop that," Zoe said, folding her arms. "Talk to me. What's going on?" Pepetual's lips quivered. Her eyes welled with tears. She hadn't planned to say anything, but Zoe's kindness broke her. "It's Zipporah," she whispered. "He's not the man I married, Zoe." Zoe's brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" Pepetual wiped her tears, trying to be strong, but the weight of it all came crashing down. He's not the same. He insults me, calls me useless, reminds me of my past. He forces himself on me whenever he wants." Her voice cracked. "He doesn't even care about Muna. He cheats, Zoe. He brings women into this house." Zoe's mouth fell open. "Pepetual," she gasped. "Are you serious? I thought you guys were couple goals. We see you guys at events, always kissing, holding hands, matching outfits. What is all this?" "It's all a show after he met Prey," Pepetual said, sobbing. "He makes me wear these clothes so people will think we're happy. But I have nothing, Zoe. I have no money. Zipporah says I should not work cause that will be an avenue of going to sleep with men. I can't leave. I can't go back to my mother's house with a baby. I'm stuck." Zoe's heart broke. She knelt beside Pepetual, holding her hand tightly. "Babe, you can't live like this," she said firmly. "You can't stay here. No one deserves this, you deserve better." Pepetual shook her head. "But what about Muna?" she said, her voice filled with anguish. "He's my only joy. I can't leave my son." Zoe sighed deeply. "Then you have to find a way to survive, Pepetual," she said, her voice trembling. "Because if you stay, it won't just be you suffering. It will be Mune too." They sat there, holding each other, tears falling freely. "Zipporah was supposed to love me," Pepetual whispered, her voice full of pain. "I know," Zoe replied, hugging her tighter. "But sometimes, love isn't enough." That night, Pepetual lay awake, staring at the ceiling, cradling Muna in her arms. Her heart was heavy with questions she had no answers to. Do I leave? Where will I go? Can I survive on my own? Her eyes filled with tears again. This time she did not cry. She just stared at the ceiling, numb. I have to be strong for Muna, she thought to herself. I have to be strong. But deep down, she wasn't sure if she had the strength left to fight. Oftentimes, people say women who lived wild lives always end up married to rich men and living happily ever after. But if only they knew. If only they knew that behind the smiles and designer clothes, many had become a prisoner in a mansion. Pepetual's once glamorous life had turned into a cage. She was financially dependent on Zikora, forced to maintain a facade of happiness while suffering behind closed doors. It's been 4 years and Pepetual is still enduring her marriage and regretting her choices. What happens to Pepetual next?
Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe for more real-life inspired stories like this. Your support keeps the stories alive.